Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with another hate to love romance recommendation video. The last time I did this was in September. I thought it was a lot sooner than that, but I haven't done this in a while. I think I've mentioned hate to love in a couple of the recommending your books for your favorite tropes videos I do, where I give a ton of recommendations for a ton of different tropes, and hate to love always comes up. But I have 10 on here, and they are books that I talk about a lot. I feel like I'm very repetitive in these videos, but I guess not everybody watches all of my videos, so if you only watch my recommendation videos, you haven't seen me read these and reading vlogs and wrap-ups and stuff. So if you do watch all my videos, sorry for being repetitive, but I have a lot of people that follow me just for these recommendation videos. These always do really well compared to my other videos, so I decided to include them in case people have missed out on them. But I have a good amount to get to, so we will get started. The first one is The Trouble with Hating You by Saji Patel. I did talk about this one in my office romance recommendation video, but this one is a really great hate to love, especially on her part, because trigger warnings for abuse. She was abused and assaulted by someone in her past, and as part of her culture, women don't have premarital sex, and so people know that she has, and so people really look down upon her and make fun of her and say really crude things about her. But she wants to live alone. She wants to have a job and be successful and not settle down with a man right away, and so she faces repercussions of that with the people in her social circles and her parents' social circles, and her parents keep on trying to set her up with people, and so she's going over to dinner at her parents' house, and it's kind of ambushed by a date, and so she gets really angry. She's like, I don't want to be set up with someone, I'm just here to have dinner with my parents. And the guy is like, wow, is she being really rude or what, because he doesn't understand the circumstances, and it's their relationship. He ends up actually being hired on to work for her company because her company is going under, and she's fighting to try to save them, and so he's hired on to help too. So it's kind of an office romance, and he ends up saving her when she doesn't want to be saved, and makes her really upset because she doesn't want his help, but she kind of needs it. And it's just great because she slowly starts to warm up to him, and I really like that, how one character is really angry and hates the other one, but the other one doesn't hate them, and so they give them time and they're patient, and so this one's one of those, and I really enjoyed it. The next one's really fun because, again, it's someone who one of them really hates them and the other one doesn't, but they hate the fact that they like them, and that's Beguiling the Beauty by Sherry Thomas. This is actually a revenge romance. So our heroine was married twice, and her first husband committed suicide and her second one died, and our hero saw her when she was originally married to the first guy and was head over heels in love with her, but he knew she was married and thought that she was the reason her husband committed suicide. And he actually says that at a talk he gives at a university in America, because he is a scientist, and he's talking about how people are obsessed with pretty things and how that affects evolution and stuff, and he uses her as example, and she's in the audience. He doesn't name her, but what he says, she knows it's her, and she is furious. So she dresses up as this baroness and covers her face with a veil, and pretty much decides that she's gonna seduce him and fall in love with him, have him fall in love with her, and realizes that he's different and starts falling for him. But she always wears her veil, so he doesn't know who she is, and so it was she set out to seduce him to get back at him, and then they fall in love. And it's really great. I really like this, and there's a lot to do with archaeology, which I thought was really cool. So I really like it when science is involved in historicals, because it's so just fascinating and unique, because they're discovering so much at that time. So this is fun. I really like that kind of romance, so I would recommend checking this out. The next one I have is Pulling Devils by Christina C. Jones. This one is a workplace romance. I think I might have put this in my office romance video too, but it is he's a doctor and she's a nurse, and she is studying to become a nurse practitioner, and so she has to get a lot of hours with the doctor, I think, and he is really mean to her, but it's in the case of, I'm mean to you because I like you, but she doesn't know that. She just thinks he's this huge jerk at work, and there are definitely some scenes that happen at work, so if you kind of like that, Grey's Anatomy kind of stuff, I'd recommend this. This is a lot of fun. There's just a lot of chemistry, but angst and hate between them, and so if you like that in the workplace at a hospital, I would recommend reading this one. Then I have Look the Part by Julie Ann. This one's fun because, again, it is the one person that really hates the other one, and it's just because he's grumpy. So this is a grump sunshine kind of romance, which I do want to do a recommendation video for that, so let me know if you want that. But he has a son who is autistic, and there's trigger warnings for loss of a loved one. He lost his wife. He blames himself for it, and so he's raising his son by himself, and he is a lawyer in his office building. He he sublets one of the like offices in his building to this woman. She's actually a music therapist, and she told him that, and he the next day is like, what is that loud noise coming from this building? And it's her music therapy, and he is so angry that he's like, you can't stay here. And she's like, but it's in my contract, I can. And so they have this back and forth about him wanting to kick her out, him hating her, but it's because he like hates the world kind of thing. And what happens is his son gets really close to her because his son starts playing the guitar with her, and his son ends up really liking her, and he's like, well, now I can't get rid of her because like my son really likes her. And so it's really great. As a single parent romance, it's great. Grumpy Sunshine, it's great. And as a hate to love, it's great because he really hates her, but she doesn't hate him, and it's adorable. Then one that I literally just finished this morning is Duchess at Heart by Maya Banks. People typically read Maya Banks' 2 series that look alike, that have the really pretty covers. This one I found on Libby, and I was like, what is this? So I listened to it, and it's really fun. So our heroine is a widow. Trigger warnings for assault and abuse, because our heroine was in a very, very abusive relationship, and it starts out with her being home and like terrified of her husband, and then someone comes in and says her husband's dead, and she's like, what? And so she doesn't grieve him in society, and people are like, really? And so she doesn't follow a lot of society's expectations, and she kind of wants to have an affair because she's like, I want pleasure and intimacy, which she's never had before. And her best friend is Case, and so she spends a lot of time with him, and Case's brother is Justin, and Justin is a duke, and he gets really angry at her because of how much she doesn't follow society, and how his brother is kind of like associated with her, and he thinks his brother is like with her, but they're just best friends, they're not together. And then they start spending time together, and it's really good, and they fall in love, and then someone's trying to kill her as well, so they're trying to figure out who's killing her. And so he just like really hates her for like not really any reason, and she doesn't hate him, but she's kind of like put off by him because he hates her. So it's very angsty, and I really liked it, and I would recommend picking this one up. Then I have a fantasy, and that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. This one is the case of they are wanting to kill each other. So our heroine has been raised since birth to possibly infiltrate this kingdom as a wife to kill them and bring them down, and her and all of her sisters were trained, and she was the one chosen to be sent there. So she's really a spy trying to take him down because she hates him because of what she's heard of what he's done to her country. And it's like they were supposed to marry though because they're from rivals, and they're supposed to like have an alliance, and they end up really liking each other. And he especially really hates her. He can't trust her, but they have a lot of intense chemistry, and it's very slow burn though, so you don't really get a payoff until the end, which was very frustrating, but I really enjoyed it. So if you want a we literally want to kill each other romance where they start to fall for each other, I would recommend this one. Then I have While the Duke Was Sleeping by Sophie Jordan. This is actually inspired by While You Were Sleeping, which is a Sandra Bullock movie, which I absolutely love. And so our heroine has been infatuated with this duke that comes into this flower shop that she works in. She takes care of her sister alone because their parents had passed away, and she ends up saving the duke from a carriage accident because he gets into this bad fight, and she's trying to help, and then he gets thrown in front of a carriage, and she saves him, and she was like, oh, I was gonna marry him. And his like maid hears that and is like, oh, this is his betrothed, and she's like, what? And so she kind of goes along with it, and his brother is like a half brother, and he's Scottish, and he hates him, and they do not get along, and end up having to spend a lot of time together while the duke is in a coma, because like that's what happens in the movie too. And she's like supposed to be engaged to this duke, but she's like kind of fallen for his brother even though she really hates him, and it's fabulous. There's a lot of animosity between the Scottish brother and the duke because of reasons, but she kind of slowly starts to spend time, like I said, with a Scottish guy and getting to know him, and it's great. I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. Then this one's more like I'm annoyed with you and I don't want to like you, and I'm annoyed that I like you kind of romance, and that's Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This one was so sweet because our hero, he is autistic, and he owns a like bed and breakfast, and our heroine is kicked out of her house and cut off and said, you have to find a job and be serious. And so she drives and comes to the first help wanted sign she sees and just walks in, and our hero is very meticulous and planned, and he's like, who is this girl who just walks in willy-nilly, not prepared? Like, no. And he's like, absolutely not. And he like storms out, but then they're desperate for help, and so I think it was his cousin is like, no, like we need her. And so it goes from there, and it's really funny because I think it was Jacob, he is just like so angry with her all the time, and he's mostly angry because he likes her. And so it's really funny because like he tries to convince himself that he hates Eve, but he really doesn't. This is another instance of like the Grump Sunshine, because Eve is just like a ball of sparkly fluff. Like, she has that kind of personality, and he is just very serious and meticulous and doesn't like things that's not routine or out of order or messed up, and it's really funny. I was just like smiling the whole time I read this book. The dynamic was so fun, and how much he just hated her but like hated himself because he liked her. It was fun. Then I have Let Me Please You by Alexandria House. This one, our heroine works for a jeweler, and they're both single parents, and what happens is like she's supposed to deliver jewelry to this rapper who's like really famous, and typically her boss sends his like side pieces to do that. So she goes to deliver the jewelry, and like he is literally in bed with another woman. Like, she's in his bed and he's like sitting there, and so she's like, oh, this guy's disgusting, he's a player, like, wow. And she delivers the jewelry, and he like insults her, insinuating like she's a side piece for her boss, and they really get off on the wrong foot. And then he tracks her down, and he likes her, and so he tries to make amends and get to know her. And so I just love the meet cute for this. It was really funny because she is completely turned off by this guy, and like, he's such a player, he's such a pig, like there's no way like I would ever like someone like that. And then it goes from there, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this one. And the last one I have is The Culmination of Everything by Christina C. Jones. I feel like I talk about this one all the time as well, but it's such a great enemies to lovers, and I always get this mixed up. I read this around the same time I read another wilderness one. So in both of them, the heroine goes into the wilderness to go hiking for a reason, and this one is actually because she lost her family. So there's trigger warnings for loss of a loved one. She lost a child and her husband, and the other one, she lost her fiance, and I always get them confused, but it was very tragic. And so she goes and decides to hike, and she gets hurt, and our hero ends up saving her. He's a park ranger, and he's like really angry that she's like going out there alone and not following rules and just like being unprepared. And so she's ended up staying in a cabin there, and she's trying to take a class there, like a survival help class, and he's the one giving the class, and they have like really insane chemistry, and like they hate that they have chemistry. So there is some like one night stand happening where they really hate each other but still do it, and it's great. I really love this one. It's one of my favorite Christina C. Jones book, and I would definitely recommend it. And those are my latest hate to love romance recommendations. Let me know down below if you have any others, or if you've read these and you really enjoyed them. I've done this video like 3 or 4 times now over the years on my channel, so I will link everyone I've done down below, and I'd recommend checking those out. But that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.